Sports Talk Chicago. Here with Jon Zaghloul, and we are back and ready for today's special guest. He's the TV voice of Dodgers baseball and national sports broadcaster for Fox. Please welcome Joe Davis to the program. Joe, it's great to have you on. How are you?
John, good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being here. Where are you headed right now?
Headed down to Champaign for the Illinois-Purdue game tomorrow. Yeah,
What do you expect out of it?
I'm for it. It's actually going to be my first basketball game in person in 2 years. Just
Wow.
because, COVID protocols. Been doing all the games from studio. So I was at Michigan State last weekend. I was in Ann Arbor, but that got canceled. So I'm going to try it again. Try it again tomorrow.
How tough is it to call a game off a monitor like that and stay remote?
Tough, but getting easier because we're getting more used to it. Just because of we've been doing it for a while now. Basketball is definitely easier than football or baseball. Just that it's the camera's constantly following the ball, and it's only 10 guys on the floor. So getting used to it. I wish we were a little less used to it, to be honest with you, but figuring it out.
How surprised are you by Illinois' success this year?
I'm not. I think that, obviously losing Io is a big deal and an incredible player, but they brought back a lot. And Kofi Coburn is one of the most dominant players in the country. He's like a man playing with boys. I mean, guys just bounce off him, and it's not just him. They got three other guys averaging double figures. They're shooting it better than they ever have from outside, and they become really hard to defend. You got to choose basically to deal with him inside and throw an extra guy at him, or try and take away the outside shot, because they definitely have both those things this year.
Are they better than last year's team, or where do you rank them?
I think they could be. The obvious thing is missing Dosumu, and one of the best players in the country. So that's the thing that, what's it going to be like when they need a shot at the end of the game? It's looked like it's been Trent Frazier lately, that he may be that guy, but you knew you had that with Io. So we'll see as the season goes on, but I think they could be better.
Joe Davis here on Sports Talk Chicago. Joe, I want to get your reaction now to the Bears. A lot of firings on Monday. I know you called one of their games this season. What'd you make of this whole aftermath of the season for them?
I think that you kind of saw it coming. There would be some people that would say they're surprised it didn't happen sooner. But I think that you have a franchise quarterback, and so you have to strike while the iron is hot. And if you don't feel like the head coach is right, you don't feel like the GM is right, then you got to make the move now and build behind this guy that you think is going to be the one to lead you forward.
What impressed you about Justin Fields when you watched him play?
I think the same thing that Bears fans have seen. That is that he's kind of the same guy. He's kind of always right here in the moment and the stage. Doesn't seem too big for him. And the obvious of the arm talent. I think there's a lot to like with him. Now you got to arm him a little better with guys around him, and part of that is they hope a better coaching staff, a better setup in the front office. But I think the raw talent, the raw emotional ability is there.
Is there anyone in mind you have specifically for that head coaching spot who you think would work well?
No, I can't say that I've put much thought into that. Who would be a good fit? I don't know. Somebody I think that is going to work well with Justin Fields, and I think you want to complement that as best you can, with that being what you're most excited about moving forward.
What concerns you, if anything, about Fields right now?
I think with any young quarterback, it's just no matter how great they are in college and no matter how they flash in their first year, how good can they really be in the NFL until they prove that they can be that? We've seen so many guys come in and be highly touted and be first-round picks and not just not pan out. So I think that first year it's hard to tell. You saw a lot of good things. You saw some things that really excite you. You saw a lot of things that showed you that he was a rookie. So I guess what would concern me would be the same thing that would concern me with any young quarterback, and that is until you see it happen at the NFL, can you truly believe that it's going to?
What do you make of the whole rookie quarterback class when you compare Fields to guys like Mac Jones and others this year? What do you think of them?
It's been awesome. I mean, he's not a rookie, but it's almost like Jalen Hurts is a rookie too, and that he hardly played last year, and he doesn't get thrown into that same conversation with very young new quarterbacks in the NFL. So it's an exciting time to be an NFL fan, be a fan of offense, be a fan of quarterbacks with all the guys around the league.
You like that direction to see the NFL be more quarterback centric over the past 10, 15 years?
I guess I also kind of miss the workhorse running back. I miss the Adrian Petersons of the world. So it's a give and take, I know, but it's certainly not bad watching quarterbacks do their thing on Sundays.
Who was your favorite running back growing up? Like who'd you root for and who'd you like in that sense?
So I grew up a diehard Lions fan. Barry Sanders would be the earliest, but Barry stepped away when I was really young, so it's hard for me to say that I was really into him. The name that I mentioned, Adrian Peterson, was a guy that, as a Lions fan, I would see him dominate the Lions a couple times a year, and had a great admiration for him from the other side, so to speak.
How'd you feel about the Lions this year then, with their new head coach and with the record they put up?
The two best things about moving from Michigan to LA are, number one, the weather, and number two, being able to cut ties with my Lions fandom and have an excuse to say I don't care anymore. Because my dad told me there's one thing he can tell me for sure, and that is the Lions will always disappoint you. So having a good reason to cut ties has been nice.
Are you a fan of anybody now, or are you more objective being an NFL broadcaster?
I'm looking forward to living vicariously through my kids and letting them pick a team and seeing where they go. They're still too young, I think, to really have a feeling, but I'll ride those coattails.
Joe Davis here on Sports Talk Chicago. Joe, let's talk baseball now. What do you make of this lockout going on?
It stinks, right? But we all knew we were going to get here. Last few years, you could kind of see the trains headed at each other down the same tracks, and we've gotten there. And I think it's one of those things that anytime you get into a negotiation like this, it's never going to be. People were upset about on Thursday them saying that the players didn't like the offer and no progress is made. Well, that's how this goes. You're not going to show up and be like, okay, first thing you put down in front of us looks great. That's just not how it works. I think typically it happens where it goes right up until the last minute, and then they start feeling their feet on the fire and things get figured out. So is spring training going to start on time? I don't know. Does it matter if it starts on time? I don't think so. You miss a week or two of spring training. People talk about it already being too long. So say spring training starts a little late. I think as long as the season starts on time and you get more than you had in summer camp of 20, which was only a couple-week build-up, I think you're fine as long as the season, they figure it out in time for the season to start as planned.
Have the Dodgers told you anything about be prepared for no spring training or be prepared for a later start to the season?
No, there's just no. I don't think anybody knows for sure. So we're all kind of sitting there waiting together.
What sort of changes do you think this whole CBA brings to the game?
The tough thing with it, and the reason that I think it's scaring everybody, is that everything is up for discussion. So from the rules on the field, as far as the extra innings rule, and things like that, pitch clock, all those things, to playoff structure, to salary structure, to who gets to be on the team playing and who doesn't. Like, all these things are up. So nothing would surprise me. I think that you'll probably see a change to the playoff format, just reading the same stuff you're reading. You're going to see some rule tweaks. We'll see what sticks. And hopefully they continue to work down the path that they are with some of the things that they tried out in the minors this year. As far I think a pitch clock is probably the best idea, because I think that very quickly after that was implemented, you would forget that it was even there, but it would lead to a much better product. So I'm hoping that is probably not going to be thrown in there right now, but maybe a path towards that. We'll see, though, because like I said, there are so many things that could get tossed into the equation.
Of those proposals, what's something you really don't want to see?
Well, as far as on-field rules, I like the National League game. DH is coming to the National League. I wouldn't mind if it didn't. I think that's probably coming. So I guess that would be one. But I'm not willing to put up much of a fight because I know that's probably a losing battle.
What about expanded playoffs? You're okay with that too?
To an extent. I don't want it expanded too far. I think 2020 was okay with the 16 teams because of what it was, a short season, and that's just what made sense. They're talking, I think the first proposal at 14 for Major League Baseball. That for me would be the limit, because what makes baseball special, as you know, John, is the 162 game regular season, and to diminish that in any way, I think would really be a disservice to kind of the soul of the game.
Do Do you think maybe they should change things currently, though? Like for the Dodgers this year, they won 109 games and they're playing in a wild card game, 1-game playoff. Did you find that a problem?
Yeah, I do. I think that it would be great if they could come up with a way to reward the 108, 109 win seasons. You mentioned the Dodgers. How about the Giants, who win, I think, 109 games and are done having to face the second best team in the league in the first round? So, yeah, I think there are ways to restructure it to be fair to the teams that earn it during that all-important 162-game journey.
What do the Dodgers do this year? Do you think they could repeat what they did last year?
Yeah, I do. I think that there are questions about the starting pitching. Clayton Kershaw's health after he missed the end of the season. Dustin May won't be back until midseason because of Tommy John surgery, not having Max Scherzer. So I think that there's some moves to be made still as far as the starting pitching goes. But position player-wise, they're still really well stocked. Corey Seager goes, but you've got Trey Turner playing shortstop now. Gavin Lux, good chance he plays second base. I think they're going to be just fine. That's one of the great things about working for them is that you can pretty much count on them being in the picture every year.
What makes them for sure contenders this year? What's the one thing?
I think just what the roster that they have and then the financial might and the willingness to use that financial might combined with the brains of Andrew Friedman and his staff in the front office. It really is just it's a combination that is going to leave you at least contending, at least in the discussion, at the very least, every year.
How far do you see them going?
The expectation is always that they win the World Series. I think it's pretty simple at this point. Now, they've only done it one time during this stretch, but you win 8 straight division championships, wild card last year, 108-win season. That's the expectation, is that they continue to compete for World Series.
How special was that for you back in 2020 to see him win?
Really cool. As a team TV guy, you don't really get to be involved in it, but it was cool to see the people that you're around every day experience that. Clayton Kershaw, for me in particular, it was amazing to see him exercise some of those postseason demons and get that ring, and hopefully there's another one coming.
Joe Davis, still here on Sports Talk Chicago. Joe, a few more questions before we finish up. First off, your best game at quarterback at Beloit College was what?
I couldn't tell you. Can we not talk about high school? I was a little better. It was not a great couple of years of playing quarterback. So here's the thing. They were a wing T offense for the longest time, and I came in with a new staff who implemented the spread. And so as a freshman, starting right away, we were running the spread with a bunch of wing T dudes. And I don't know, it just kind of devolved and snowballed into a thing where I didn't think I could play any. Confidence gone, shot. And I guess that combined with the fact that I just wasn't very good, I couldn't tell you what my best game was.
Well, what about in high school? You said you did well in high school, right?
A lot of good games. A lot of good games in high school, yeah. The one that stands out to me was against our rival my senior year. We play them every year for the Brown Jug, and we beat them 48-47. I set some records. And we were down a couple touchdowns with a couple minutes left and came back and won the game in the final second. So that's the most memorable one.
How about your favorite thing to grill? What would that be?
Been doing a lot of Wagyu steaks lately. I've gotten that down pretty good. You better get that down. It's an expensive steak. if you don't figure that out. I'm probably doing a brisket, low and slow on the smoker, and I don't have that as perfected. That's, I think, kind of the holy grail of smoking meats. So that's that challenge keeps me coming back, and how spectacular it is when you do get a good one.
Have you ever made a mistake with Wagyu?
Yeah, the first time I grilled it was on Dave Roberts' birthday, and Dave and his wife Tricia were over, and I don't know, it was a mistake. Everybody loved it, but I overcooked it a little bit. I haven't overcooked it since then. You can't overcook Wagyu.
Are you too hard on yourself when it comes to judging your own smoking?
For sure, yeah.
And Joe, before we finish up today, last question. What's the funniest moment you've been a part of in your career?
Funniest moment? I don't know. There's not a funniest moment that comes right to mind. I'll give you the most embarrassing moment. It's my last year at ESPN, doing the NIT with Miles Simon, the old Final Four MVP of Arizona. And the on camera, for whatever reason, I introduced him as Miles Austin, the old NFL receiver. I don't know why. I'm not a Cowboys fan or anything. But yeah, that was an embarrassing moment. Thankfully, the NCAA tournament started the next day, and everybody's attention was on that, so the video didn't circulate the internet. And it was before, a little before social media took off and buried anybody that did anything like that.
Have you had a social media viral moment that you're aware of, like people making fun of you or critics, something like that?
I think that's kind of ongoing. That's why I'm hardly on there anymore. It's such a bad place.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure. Best wishes for the game tomorrow for the Dodgers this season, and looking forward to catching up again in the future. Really appreciate it.
Okay, John. Take care, man.